We're alive.
The owl is on fire.
You don't need no water, let the motherfucker
Burn, mother owl. Burn.
burn.
Speaking of live, this guy isn't.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Before them stood the house of their nightmares.
I dreamt of doors and shadows.
Can't see anything. It's scary as fuck.
Oops.
Sorry.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hey,
Hi.
Hey.
How's it going all? Happy, what is it, Sunday? Thank Cthulhu, it's Sunday.
yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
We are here for a night of storytelling with the Owlite Society.
Indeed. Oh, we had a mic.
We had a mic. We lost
Then
the
mic
mic.
disappeared. We may have a Rob at some point in time too. Technical
We
difficulty.
might.
Hey, Tom.
Hey,
Dog.
Tom. So I'm excited to say that, guys, okay.
Hey.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we have a mic again. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. Good.
Ratatosker is here tonight. He's got some Crown Royal, but I have been rejoined. The dresser people have finally allowed me to have my gnome back. He is going to be drinking with us too, and he's a happy little guy. And his name is Phillips the gnome. So
Very cool.
Cool.
I like him.
He's
I
so
hope you guys
fuzzy.
enjoy it.
Hey, we got a Rob too.
He
Hey, Rob.
He's fluffy.
Hello.
Hey, Rob.
Hi.
Woot. We got a crew going tonight. Awesome.
This is a multi-genre night. I know at least I'm not doing horror for a change. I'm not sure about anybody else.
I'm taking your spot in doing the true story thing.
Ooh,
So
nice.
yeah. And just to let you guys know, we have a lottery going on right now. It's totally free to enter. It should be on all of our different sites and personal sites and pro sites. So go ahead and look for it. All you have to do, it's run by King Sumo. And basically what you have to do is just sign up. And then there's a list of links, and it's either us or like publishers or authors that we've worked with in the past.
Like me.
And yeah, like
Mhm.
Rob. And if you go and like, follow, subscribe, or in some cases, just check out the homepage, the website for them, you get entries into the lottery. And with that, you can win a bunch of Rob's books that you're autographing, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. You can grab.
Sure I am.
Sure. You can win $50.
Having trouble hearing Dell. She's breaking up on my end.
I think it's just it might be just your end.
Oh, she's plenty clear on my end and plenty
Okay.
loud yet.
Okay, I'm sorry if I'm too loud. You can turn it down.
You're not too loud.
Okay. There's also a $50 comic book mystery box from Silverback Graphics that will be available. You can grab copies. I'll sign for you of the anthologies that I'm in of More Lore from the Mythos 1 and 2 and Nightmare Whispers: What Remains. That's volume 3 of that. You can also get a digital set of the Riverside Chronicles.
Just not
from
realizing
Raz.
my camera's not been on for a while.
Yeah,
I have no
no,
idea
you're-
at what point in time it turned off.
You've been Jenny's gnome for a while. And you can also win Jenny's book autographed. So yeah, sign up. We'll do winners on Leap Day. We have an Allied Adventure show going that day, and you can enter all the way up until midnight the morning of the 29th. And
We
then
don't actually have an Allied Adventure show that day. We have nothing
we don't?
in particular planned that day because that's my official anniversary that day. A year,
Oh yeah,
a year
okay.
of being married according to Leap Day terms. 4 years, but you know.
Okay, so we're gonna do a drawing on Raz's anniversary day.
Yep, we'll do something that day.
Cool.
It's our
Does that mean
because
pat
it's
itself?
Valentine's Day. And
Yeah.
because it's Valentine's Day and leap year, we're calling it the Lovers Leap Lottery. So go enter, check it out. Just we're trying to get you guys to see all of our different sites where we're at and all the people that we love to work with and friends of ours and stuff. So costs you nothing. You can win prizes. Yay!
Prices are good.
Like we promised during the 24-hour stream, you know, whether we raised money or not, it doesn't matter because we're still going to keep doing the things that we do that we love to do for you guys and for ourselves. So the wheel turns, man.
And there's no way we can raise money on this one because we aren't asking you for any. We're just asking for you to click a button.
But you can always donate money to us on PayPal.
I mean, yeah. we won't turn that down.
Yeah, we constantly accept donations. That's something you're going to hear a lot more about all year long is us just at least once per show mentioning, hey, we're taking donations on
So we can do things like this. Like next Sunday, I'm going to be opening this box. I just got 36 image comics from Mile High Comics.
Image, nice.
Yeah, they were overstocked. They had like 2 million extra comic books filling up their warehouse, and so they needed to do it. So they just, according to what they're saying, they aren't able to really sort them. They are guaranteeing though that 90% of the comics received will be in either fine, very fine, or near mint conditions.
Very cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Man.
If possible, John is going to join us on that day because he is a certified licensed comic expert, and he can go through and be like, oh, that's the first appearance of this. This is the, this and this. So he's going to go through them, and we're going to see how good the Mile High Comics mystery boxes are.
Very awesome. It's always a good time when John's around too.
Yeah.
Miss me some John.
You said this is called the Lover's Leap, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Isn't that the name of a cliff over in Europe?
It's
the name of a cliff everywhere.
Yeah, there's multiples.
I'm just saying.
It's because we have to have them available for us in all, in all continents and all areas, just in case.
Yeah, and I didn't use the apostrophe S when I made it because it's divided on whether it's a lover's leap or a lover's leap. So
yeah.
I wanted to include everyone. So it's all the lovers out there.
Love leaping.
Oh, it sounds like a frog man.
Leaping lemurs.
Lords of Leaping.
Oh, yep.
So how's everybody doing tonight, guys? I just got done talking a lot.
I'm a doctor now. I have proof. Hold on. I actually earned my doctorate. I didn't earn it. It's an honorary degree from Abide University. And I did some weird research on this. It's like when a celebrity gets an honorary degree from an institution. Abide University actually does have a mailing address and is a real actual university, although they teach no actual classes. So technically, I am actually Dr. Slasher now. I'm still going to earn a doctorate. Don't worry about that. But I'll just have 2. This one is in for pop culture, Doctorate of Philosophy. So there's my honorary degree for the week. Yeah, the Doctor and Dr. Slasher will be permanent now.
Hi,
hey,
Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
So what's up with Rob, Mike, and Pyle?
Oh. I want to hear about Rob. I haven't seen Rob for a very long time.
Rob, how was your vacation? And hey, Shannon.
You guys are all talking over Mike. Mike was talking.
Oh, sorry.
You said you just got over sick being sick last week.
Yeah, I was a little sick last week and got over it, but now my wife's sick, so
Oh
no.
no, man!
I think
The
she's
sickness
got what
is
I got.
is
Just
rampant.
busy with work a lot of time, but I did recently finish my newest story. It's going to be in a new anthology from Fake Horror. It's going to come out, I think, the end of March.
Nice.
Maybe
That's
double
another
check
one.
that. I forgot it was March or May.
That's another one we'll be in together, sir. That's awesome.
Nice.
I just got my suggested edits from her today, actually.
Don't know if I'm allowed to do a preview of that yet or not.
I liked it. It was awesome.
Very cool. So over to you, Rob.
My vacation was good. Too short. They're always too short.
Yeah.
And work's been just fun since I came back. And other than that, I'm kind of busy writing and editing for other people.
Oh,
I saw that you bought out all of the milk duds in your area.
Yeah, I did. Apparently.
So guys, send Rob milk duds.
That'd be okay with that.
We're gonna get you for Christmas like the big boxes or
Get
something.
him stock in milk dud, you know.
Works for me.
Auto subscribe, so it just keeps sending them to you off of Amazon or something like that.
Thank you. I would love that.
Where'd you get? Rob got an year's supply of milk duds. Oh.
Geez, God, it had to be 10 years ago now. I think for my birthday, my kid got me a box of milk duds, and he just took a Sharpie and changed them to milk dads. It was the best thing ever.
Awesome.
That is kind of,
That's
wow,
sweet.
dad joke. That is perfect.
I still have the box somewhere. I don't know where it is, though, but I know I still have it somewhere.
That's awesome. Papa was big into Whoppers, so I'd get
Whoppers.
We'd get him big things of Whoppers.
Mom liked robin eggs.
Oh, those are good. But they're
So,
I only see those around Easter.
Yeah, I know that's the downside of those. What about you, Pyle? What have you been up to, buddy?
Just wrapping up, going to different haunts around Ohio. I got a chance to perform at 2 haunts during their Valentine's, and then I got to go to one last night that I've never been to before, and had a nice conversation with them. I mean, yeah, they were an hour and a half away, but you know what? It was really awesome getting over there, and I quite enjoyed DHH.
Very cool, man. Very cool.
Nice. What's the full name of the haunt? So if people want to check it out, they can.
It is Distraction Haunted House, and it is in Bowling Green, Ohio.
And
Bowling
so
Green's
this is
an
something
interesting-
that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, but this will be one that they can go to this upcoming Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do believe they've been around 6 or 7 years, and the owner was really nice. Talked to me. He was actually dressed up as Abraham Lincoln, and he was on stilts, and he chased you down with a giant axe.
That is epic.
There's pictures on my Facebook of me and 2 of the haunters from my haunt going there, and we had a great time going there, going through, talking to the people, and then on the way back, just a lot of fun in a vehicle.
Bowling Green's a nice little college town too, man. There's a lot of stuff to do over there. I actually almost went to Bowling Green as my first college instead of the one I ended up going to. I was going to go there for music theory because their music theory program there is one of the leading in the United States.
Yeah,
it's a cool little town though.
I think they're Red Hawks over there, aren't they?
I believe so.
BG Red Hawks.
Yeah.
I don't know how the stilts walkers do it. I can't walk through a room without. If you see my legs, I'm like, I have bruises like this big on each of my like the back of one calf and the shin on another.
We have multiples.
This was actually the first haunt I went to that they didn't just have one. No, they actually had 3 in there.
Yeah, That's insane.
Crazy.
Like we always have our finale, it's our giant killer cyborg robot, whatever, on stilts. But then when we get Brian Gantz, which we get him a couple times a year, he always does stilts. And then we have another person that's going to start doing stilts this coming year, and another one in training. So now all of a sudden, like, we went from no stilts or sliders to having like a lot of stilts, and like I think we got like 4 sliders now.
So can you get somebody who can do a slider through the the stilts and have them?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And it's devastating. It's totally devastating to like the witness, because you don't know.
They have to practice and practice and practice.
Oh yeah.
You got to know where you are when you're sliding, and if you don't know how to make sure that you're going where you're going, going under a stilt walker is not where you want to be.
What is sliding?
Basically, you wear a specialized type of knee pads, like, and gear, and you run at people at spark plates on your knees and on your hands, so you can like leave sparks in your wake as you're like flying towards someone on the ground. It's insane.
And if you're really good at it, you can hit just the right spot, and you can actually pop up right at the person and stand and stare straight at them as soon as you get right there. I mean, they come a foot to inches from you if they're really good.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch. I feel like I'd murder myself even trying it, but like, it's the people that do it well, it's breathtaking. Even if it doesn't frighten you, it's yeah.
They have competitions where they're like jumping over things or doing like a limbo stick, like sliding under it, and there's like sparks flying everywhere, and
that sounds crazy.
It is.
It's a good way to lose your joints. But yeah, check it out on YouTube. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Friday, what have you been up to this week?
I have been fighting with Monster about learning better potty training. We have been fighting over whether or not math can be done. And generally just SSDD, trying to figure out how to mom and everything. But Josh's birthday went well, so that rocked. And both of them are working on getting better. It's not like a really big fight, but it's one of those, you can do it, but we just have to work together until you can figure out how you can do it type of thing. Fight for them to get confidence that they can do it.
Right. And math.
Math. We have the math gene in my family, most of us. There's like 1 or 2, and we're like, but it's one of those things where for the rest of us, we didn't really have to learn it. It was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I learned dimensional analysis, so there's just a form of math, in order to become a better dungeon master.
Nice.
It's more efficient math. It's weird.
No, there's a reason I work with words.
I prefer words. But words are hard too. Words are hard.
Words are so hard sometimes. It's like, right here, how do I make it go there?
I know.
Can't do that. It's not happening.
Remember, y'all can leave comments. Like, y'all can leave comments. We'll pop them up. We'll talk to you during stories, not so much because we're reading stories. But if you want your comments to pop up, typically you're going to want to be on either the Owlite Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Those are the 3 that will see your stuff. Like Nick over here commenting right there. Yep. Hey, Nick. If you're in one of those 3, your comments will pop up. Now, we need you to like and subscribe or whatever for the YouTube and, the Facebook also, but the YouTube and Twitch are the really big, important ones right now. And and if you pay attention to our YouTube here in the next week or 2, probably-ish, you're going to see about another 50 or so videos just magically pop up, because I got off my ass and I did all the shortcuts for a lot of our shows, so you can watch just people telling the stories or author readings and really cool things like that without having to sit through, hours worth of shows if you just want the stories and things like that. So lots of shortcuts on the way.
And like we mentioned, we're doing that King Sumo thing right now. So if you have not before liked or subscribed to us, go to one of our Facebook pages and enter the thing, the lottery, and you can get lottery entries for liking and subscribing to us and following and stuff. Super fun. And you're going to get to see a lot of really cool publishers and other authors and stuff too. Like we have Fake Horror and Rough House and Weird House and offshoots of those. Everywhere you can get, if you subscribe to some of these people's newsletters and such, you'll get free books for doing so. So that's a bonus on top of being entered in the lottery. So,
and there's another newer, really big publisher that we're having a conversation with as of today that you guys don't even know about. That we might be entering into some things with that you'll see pop up on some of our shows. So there's a lot of exciting things on the way this year, guys. Lots of exciting.
Okay.
Nick just got back from vacation.
Oh, nice.
Hope you had a good vacation, Nick.
It's okay. He was just also like Pyle in Rob's basement. So
yeah.
So
during the 24-hour stream, someone actually popped into the comments and asked if Pyle was still in Rob's basement. It was epic.
There.
Could have been. I was in Colorado. I wouldn't know.
See, we're
so fucking scary when you have Pyle in Rob's basement. We're gonna have like there's a meeting little, we're gonna have a crawl space that then leads to a tunnel that drops down with some ladders, and we all just like hang out in Rob's sub basement.
Well, I'm in Pyle's basement, and Rob is actually no. I'm technically I'm in Dell's basement originally, and the headcanon subspace. I'm in that basement, but it's somehow that meets Pyle's basement, which is all in Rob's basement. So there's a lot of basements happening in sub levels upon dreamscapes and worlds.
It's like my house is a TARDIS.
Exactly,
it is.
Bigger on the inside.
It's connected to things. I built something like this in The Sims, so.
Oh, I really hope this isn't like my goddamn taxes.
It's like, if anything, you have more dependents, Rob.
It's like Doctor Strange made all the houses and basements.
Yeah.
All right, so we're 22 minutes into a storytelling show. We haven't started telling stories yet because we're so busy being excited and catching up because we don't all get to see each other either. So yeah. So who would like to go first this evening?
Can I go first? Because I'm on the East Coast, so I'm only going to be around for like another hour and a half or so.
Of course, man.
Absolutely.
And then I will wilt.
Then it's pumpkin time.
I don't want to hear about Pyle's meat locker. I don't want to hear about Pyle's meat.
All right.
Well,
we want to hear your story.
Okay. Let me see. Short or long? Longer. Okay.
But I thought you said you didn't want to hear about meat.
I walked right into that one with a wide open face. Okay. I have something. We're talking about like genre skipping and people not doing scary stories. This one isn't scary. This is something that was in an anthology called Strange. This is an anthology series called Strangely Funny, and I don't remember which one. 6. It's up there on the shelf. Strangely Funny 6 took this story called Do I Fat? So I haven't seen this in a while. Let me see if I can not mess it up. Okay. Do I fat? Flowers stared, fascinated, at the thick blue vein pulsing in the chief's forehead. Chief Bagley is determined, said Councillor Green, and I support him in this decision, that you two are not to speak with any press. Therefore, it falls upon he and I to make the statements on your behalf. I heard the story from him, but I'd like to hear your version before I step in front of the cameras. Gentlemen? Carr's elbow nudged Flowers gently in the ribs, and Flowers tore his gaze from where the chief sat in the corner, returning his attention to the police commissioner's smooth, well-moisturized face. Well, sir, said Flowers, it was like this. We caught us a serial killer. Case closed. A serial cannibal, corrected Carr. A cannibal's worse, right? Oh, yeah, agreed Flowers. You usually get some kind of award for catching a serial killer, but a cannibal? We should get a commendation easy. Commendation? Said the chief from the corner of the room, a growl sounding more like a talking bear than a man. Are you kidding me with this commendation crap? You guys were lucky she didn't... Please, Chief Bagley, The commissioner held up a hand. I'm just trying to hear their side of the story. Flowers glanced at the chief again. Bulky, and with a penchant for growing hair just about everywhere he had skin, except for his forehead, where that vein was throbbing quite prominently. But, sir, said the chief, beginning to rise. Please, the commissioner repeated, holding his stare upon the chief until the larger man sank, grumbling, back into his chair. The small, neat man currently standing behind the chief's desk gestured toward the two seated detectives. Please, continue. It was, said Carr, just good old-fashioned genius police work. Strangled sounds came from the chief, but Commissioner Green's expression remained mild. Please, he said, elaborate. Well, we walked into the establishment, said Flowers. Cappy's Liquors, supplied Carr. And thanks to our years on the force, we noticed the perp acting in a suspicious manner. She flat out asked you what wine goes with 9-year-olds, shouted Chief Bagley. The commissioner held up a hand toward him again, eyes fixed on Flowers and Carr, nodding for them to continue. We engaged with the suspect to keep her busy while backup was called in. Bagley shot to his feet. The clerk was freaked out that you were helping her choose a wine, and he called 911. Yeah, said Carr, turning toward Flowers. Remember that rot-gut Merlot she was holding? That was the real crime, that anyone would drink that stuff. What she needed was a nice Chianti. I understand that when the uniforms arrived on the scene, interrupted the commissioner, you already had your weapons drawn and IDs out. Well, the dude behind the counter told us he'd called the police, said Carr. So I said, we are the police. He didn't believe me, so I flipped him the badge. I skipped the badge and showed him my gun, said Flowers with a wink. I've noticed people tend to show a little more respect if you show them the gun. The next thing we knew, Campus was full of uniforms, all showing their guns. He popped finger shot the commissioner. It's good to see the younger generation learning from our experience. Makes me proud. Chief Bagley was breathing like he just lumbered up 5 flights of stairs, and his skin, where you could see it through the hair, had gone a mottled, unhealthy-looking red. He raised his hands beseechingly toward Commissioner Green, apparently unaware that his thick fingers were flexing spasmodically as if choking an invisible neck. Do you see? He said through clenched teeth. Do you see what they've saddled me with? How do they expect me to run a department with? They were the first officers on the scene, said Green. They were the ranking officers on the scene, and they were identifying themselves as police officers. Even under these circumstances, I don't see how we can't give them the collar. But, sir, do you want the union on you over this? Over them? The chief remained silent, jaw muscles bunching as he ground his teeth. I thought not. If this gets out, it'll make the whole department look like a bunch of idiots, and I won't have that. Not on my watch. And to that end, he turned toward the seated detectives, leaning forward to plant his small fists on the desk blotter. And though his expression didn't change, his voice was suddenly ice cold and filled with menace. If I even think you two have got within a mile of a reporter, and I don't care if it's just one of your own kids writing for the school paper, I'll see it that you finish your careers answering domestic dispute calls in Guam. Am I making myself clear? Flowers said, I don't have any kids, sir. He didn't see the commissioner move, but suddenly the spare little man in the gray suit was around the desk, hands braced on the armrest of Flowers' own chair, and they were nose to nose. Guam. Am I clear? Flowers gulped. Yes, sir. Commissioner Green straightened and shot his cuffs. Glad to hear it. Now, to help you to avoid the public eye, I'm assigning you to protection detail. Your prisoner apparently has some sort of health issue that may be life-threatening. I don't know all the details, but there's a doctor in there with her right now. You two, handle it. This is the biggest case this department has ever seen, and I'm not going to have the damn perp die on me before she even gets to trial. Talk to the doctor, then liaise with the hospital. Do whatever needs doing to keep that old witch alive and healthy until we can give her a death sentence. But, sir, started Chief Bagley, but the commissioner cut him off. With doctors and the hospital involved, how badly do you think even they could screw this up, Chief? He addressed the detectives again. Do it. Keep her alive. Do you understand? Flowers and Carr replied in unison. Yes, sir. Good. He checked his watch. Chief Bagley, the press conference is in 15 minutes. Meet me downstairs in 10. Without another word, the little man swept majestically from the office. Flowers and Carr watched him go, then turned back to find the chief had finally left his corner and now stood before their chairs, his bulk uncomfortably close and looming. You heard the commissioner. Bagley's teeth were bared, though whether in a smile or a grimace, Flowers couldn't tell. You two have babysitting detail. Go make sure your big collar stays alive. Okay, Chief, said Flowers, but I think... Think? You think? Flowers, you don't get paid to think. You get out of here and do as you're told. I want nothing on your mind but getting that woman to trial. You understand me? But I don't care if you see a crime in progress. But you see an escaped convict forcing a kidnapped woman to sell crack to the mayor's kid out the window of a stolen car while parked in a handicap spot, you turn a blind eye. You get me? You're babysitting. We had a prison break, said Carr. Out! The chief screamed, thrusting a finger toward the door. They went. I still don't see anything about a jail break-in here, said Carr, waving a copy of that morning's departmental briefing as they approached interview room 2. Not our problem, said Flowers. Sounded like he's narcotics problem. Or maybe crimes against persons. Whatever. All we have to worry about is the old lady's tissue. Issue. Huh? Issue, man. The commish said she had a health issue. Flowers looked at the box of Kleenex in his hand. Oh, crap. This might not be as easy as I thought. They pushed through into interview 2 just as the doctor was packing the last of his equipment away, and he met them in the middle of the room. Detectives, he said quietly, this is a weird one. No kidding, said Carr, then gave the skinny old woman sitting in the interview table a little finger wave. Hey there, Mrs. Yaga. How's the cannibal business treating you? Oh, Mr. Carr, she replied, her Russian accent thick but understandable. I am not good, not good. I am so hungry. This is how one lock her in little room for hours with nothing to eat? Why hasn't she? Flowers began, but the doc interrupted, voice low but intense. She's had 2 sandwiches, a half dozen donuts, and 4 of those packets of peanut butter crackers from the vending machine in the hall. All in the last 90 minutes, and she's still complaining of hunger. Flowers whistled as Carr said, wow, but she's skinny as a rail. Where do you think she puts it all? Exercisey, said the old woman, pronouncing the terminal E to make it 4 syllables. I sweat. I work and I sweat. It's hard work, the baking. You think baker should be fat. She leaned back in the chair, spreading her arms slightly. Do I fat? Flowers eyeballed her figure, like a broomstick in a housecoat. No, ma'am, you do not fat. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen, said the doctor, keeping his back to Mrs. Yaga as if trying not to be overheard. I've been in here with her for almost 2 hours, and in that time, even with all she's eaten, she's actually lost weight. So, what? Said Carr. She's all hopped up on diet pills or something? You don't understand. The doctor looked a little wild-eyed. I have a scale, and I weighed her when I took vitals, but I thought I detected a visible difference as I was trying to get a medical history, so I weighed her again. It had been barely more than an hour, and she'd been eating the whole time, but she was lighter by almost 6 pounds. Flowers grinned. So she took a big dump. I tell you, Doc, the morning after Thanksgiving, there was no elimination. But through observation and talking to her, I've developed a theory. It's crazy, but I can't think of anything else. For some reason, either natural mutation or some disease I've never heard of, her ability to create fat cells is severely retarded. She's retarded? Said Carr, looking past the doctor to the woman. What, she's got that downstairs syndrome or whatever you call it? No, the doc began, but the words seemed to run out of steam and he just stared at Carr for a moment, then shook his head. No, What I mean is that her body doesn't seem to produce fat cells like a normal person, and her metabolic rate is off the chart. Our bodies use fat cells for fuel, but hers doesn't. With such a high metabolism, even when she's eating like this, her body's still cannibalizing itself to fuel her life functions. Carr nodded. So, what you're saying is she's a cannibal on a cellular level. The doc stared, open-mouthed, before his gaze swiveled slowly toward Flowers. Don't look at me, Doc. Flowers grinned. I didn't understand a word of that. Carr shrugged. I seen a show on the medical network. Right. The doctor continued to stare for a moment, then seemed to shake himself out of a daze. Right. So, what I'm theorizing, and it'll take a bit of testing, but I think I can prove it, is that her own body's pushing her toward cannibalism. It's like when you're low on salt, so suddenly you crave potato chips. I love me some Pringles, Flowers said, like they say on the commercials. Bet you can't eat just one. Lay's, said Carr. Huh? That's what they say on the Lay's chip commercial. Pringles says, once you pop, you just can't stop. He's right, piped up Mrs. Yaga. Pringles, once you pop, no can stop. Her voice took on a whining edge. All this talk of food is making me hungry. I have snack now. Maybe ham sandwich? Maybe with bacon? Flowers wiped drool from his lower lip. Man, that sounds good. Her body knows what's missing and is craving it, said the doctor. Fat. Preferably, apparently, human fat. They said the witness, that kid she had in her larder, she was trying to fatten him up. Wanted to get more bang for her buck, said Carr. Smart shopper, agreed Flowers. Yes, but with her metabolism, she wasn't wasting anything. The doc was wide-eyed. They didn't find any actual remains anywhere, but they should have. I think she was eating them, bones and all, until there was nothing left. I still hear you, came the woman's voice. And all your talking and talking is making me hungry. The doctor shuddered. I have to get out of here. To the lab, I mean. They left the Yaga woman in the interview too, and followed him down the hall to the squad room. I have some blood samples to have analyzed, quick as they can. At the rate her body's consuming itself, we have to find a way to get her what she needs, or she won't make it till morning, never mind until trial. Flowers thought of the chief. Specifically, he thought of those thick, hairy fingers, flexing like they were wringing a neck. His neck. Hurry, he shouted as the medical man hustled for the exit. We'll be here. Let us know the minute you know anything we can do. Anything. The doc waved over his shoulder and was gone. So, said Carr. Think we'll like Guam? Shut up. They went to their desk, one of those partner setups, a single desk with a knee hole and drawers on each side so they faced each other, and sat. Flowers sighed. You know, that Mrs. Yaga was right. All that talking about food made me hungry. He opened a drawer and began rummaging. I got that bag of peanut butter cups. You want one? Sure. Flowers closed the first drawer and opened a second. What the hell? I swear I put them right in here. Don't worry about it, said Carr, standing and walking to the coffee station at the counter. We're cops. We can always have donuts. His head swiveled left and right as he scanned the counter around the coffee maker. Hey, where did the donuts go? Dunno, man. Flowers was back to looking through the first drawer, actually taking things out and piling them on his blotter. I'm kind of more concerned that someone went into my desk for my peanut butter cups. You don't mess with a man's... Flowers. Flowers looked up from his drawer. Carr had started to return to their desk, but had stopped, pointing to the floor. A trail of crumpled orange paper wrappers led away from the side of their desk like a peanut butter chocolatey scented dotted line. Flowers followed the line with his eyes until it ran smack into one of the visitors' chairs at a desk halfway across the room. Sitting in the chair was a kid of about 9, maybe 10, with a big round body, a red round face, and a nearly empty Dunkin' Donuts box in his lap. Those the donuts you're looking for? Flowers asked Carr. Then, without waiting, he raised his voice to address the kid directly. Hey, kid, those the donuts that used to be on the counter there? The boy nodded, still chewing. Wasn't it full? Another nod. Well, they were supposed to be for everybody, said Flowers. and we're pretty hungry. Would you mind if we... The kid lifted the last donut from the box and, with a wide grin, took a big bite. Flowers grit his teeth in a rictus he hoped might pass for a smile and muttered, "Well, you fat little prick." "Well," said Carr, "that was rude. All he was asking was..." But the kid leaned forward, grin still wide. He opened his mouth, spilling half-masticated donut into the empty box on his lap, and pointed between his lips, nodding and raising his brows as if to say, "You want some?" Carr looked at Flowers. "What the hell is wrong with this kid?" "He's a spoiled brat, is what he is," Flowers responded. "There's no discipline today. Kids just do what they want." He addressed the boy again. "And I suppose you went through my desk and took my peanut butter cups?" He didn't nod, but the kid's smile widened even further. "Not only is it rude as hell to go through someone else's stuff like that, but seriously, you just don't mess with another man's cups." The kid kept on chewing as he gave the detective the finger. "That's it!" Flowers launched himself to his feet, thinking that someday, somewhere, somebody was going to knock this little prick's block off. And right at that moment, he really wanted to be that somebody. Carr moved to intercept him, shouting, "Flowers, come on, he's not worth it." Just at that moment, a uniformed officer entered the squad room, read the situation, and hustled to the boy's side. "You ready, Toby?" "You know this kid?" said Flowers. "Who is he?" The officer shuffled over until he was halfway between them and the boy, lowering his voice, much as the doctor had when discussing Mrs. Yaga. This is Tobias Hansel, the kid who was found in that old lady's larder. He's the lone witness against the cannibal." "Seriously?" said Carr. "We better question him then." The uniform looked uncomfortable as, behind him, Toby Hansel continued to chew obnoxiously and flip off the detectives. "Well, sirs, I can't let you do that. The chief said, the chief said not to let you within a mile of the kid. And Jimmy and Fripp are going to handle all the interrogation." Carr looked at Flowers. "So what? All we get to handle is the old lady?" "No, sir." The young officer looked even more uncomfortable. "And Jimmy and Fripp are handling that interrogation, too." "But it's our case!" shouted Carr. "How can they handle all the interviews in our case?" "Because I don't think it's going to stay our case for very long," said Flowers, keeping his voice low, but unable to hide the anger in it. "Looks to me like they're giving it to those two kiss-asses." "They are?" Carr looked crushed. But, what about the commendation? Will we still get the commendation?" "Probably not." "Oh, Jesus." Carr's voice sounded rough, as if he were on the edge of tears. "They get the case? They get the commendation? What do we get?" Flowers glared across the room at the frosted glass set in the chief's office door and murmured, "Babysitting duty." I am sorry, sir," said the officer, staring fixedly at Flowers and ignoring the wet snuffling sounds coming from Carr. "I'm just telling you what the chief said. Now, I have to put the kid somewhere until his parents can be located and brought to the station. Do you have any idea?" "If they're doing all the interviews," said Flowers, "then they'll be using interview room 2. Why don't you put the kid in there to wait, saving Jimmy and Fripp some time?" The officer smiled with a tight little nod. "Oh, good idea. Well, thank you, sir. And glad to see you being such a good sport about this." "Don't worry about it," said Flowers, then looked over the blue uniformed shoulder at the smug donk who'd messed with his peanut butter cups. "I'll see you later, Tubby." "It's, Toby, sir," corrected the young officer. "Whatever," Flowers said, turning to comfort his openly weeping partner. "That's right, Doc," Flowers said in the phone. "All charges were dropped." "Uh-huh. What's that?" "You're going to have to speak up, Doc." Yeah, she walked out of here with her lawyer about 10 minutes ago." "Uh-huh. No, she looked fine. Strong and everything." He glanced toward the chief's office, where all the commotion was coming from. "Actually, Doc, she looked like she'd gained some weight." "I know. Weird, right? Anyway, thanks for your help. Bye." He hung up the phone and looked over at Carr, who was swiveled around in his chair to watch the play of silhouettes on the chief's frosted glass window. One huge, hulking shadow loomed over two smaller, seated ones, waving its arms in time to the chief's bellowing. "Hey!" Carr looked over to him, You okay? Carr nodded. I am now. He gestured toward the shadow show, where the chief was just shouting, "A kid! Just one goddamn kid!" Carr smiled. It's good not to be in there for once, you know? I hear that, said Flowers. Weird, though, how when Jimmy and Fripp lost the witness. Weird, Flowers agreed. I mean, the kid disappeared right in the middle of a police station. Disappeared? No kid, but they found his shoes? What kind of X-Files crap is that? Before Flowers could think of a response, the squad room door slammed open and the commissioner marched in, looking neither left nor right, but making a beeline for the chief's office. He entered without knocking, and everything went silent. There was some low murmuring in the commissioner's smooth tones, but Flowers couldn't make out any of it. At least, not until a single ejaculation that sounded like it came from a shocked Fripp. Guam? Flowers chuckled. You know, said Carr, I almost feel bad for those case-stealing kiss-asses. Really? Well, almost. Carr looked toward the door leading to the interview rooms. His eyes went blank, then turned thoughtful. Hey, that old lady. Mrs. Yaga? She walked out of here healthy as a horse. Flowers rubbed his palms together with a grin. Yep, nobody can say we didn't do our jobs. Yeah, Carr said, sounding suspicious. Yeah, about that. You don't think, buddy, broke in Flowers, I have it on high authority that we don't get paid to think. Now, he rose to his feet. Let's you and me go see about buying that nice old lady a celebratory bottle of Chianti, shall we? The end.
That was
Awesome.
That was
Dude.
Kind of hilarious. Really interesting twist on a classic.
I love that it was Baba Yaga, and I
Yes.
gotta say, it was that slightly at all influenced by Fred Colin and Nobby Knobs from the Discworld.
No. I don't think so.
I was
I did listen to all those audiobooks, and those would have been Nigel Planer doing. I'm an audiobook nerd. That would have been Nigel Planer doing the voices, and I don't think so because I would have, if it was, I would have tried to do the accents.
Okay. I saw those two in it because it was like the and
But Mrs. Yaga is based on a real person. Who, was a customer of mine for a while. The cookie lady, who would get
the what lady?
Cookie lady. It was old, not quickie. Cookie, like
Cookie. Oh, okay,
the thing
okay.
to-
Different
I want to say
conversation.
the thing to eat, but that still goes with quickie. It was an old woman who I was delivering the mail to, and she would get packages that required a signature all the time. And so I was ringing her bell, and whenever I rang her bell, she wouldn't actually sign for it. She'd say, "Oh, wait," and she would go in and come out and give me a packet of cookies. And I every frigging time. And I finally said, "You're gonna make me fat. You know, please. You just need to sign for them. You're gonna make me fat." And she was like, "Oh, you no get fat. You walk all day. You walk. I work. I work." And she was the whole bakery thing. And she did. She said, "And do I fat?" She did not look like a broom in a house coat. But I said, "No, ma'am, you do not fat." And then I got back to the truck. I got back to my mail truck, and I was like, "I've got to write this down." Weirdest conversation I'm going to have this month. Yeah, it turned into a story.
Nice.
So,
Oh, that was beautiful. I'm like just sitting there, like I'm so glad my mic's turned off because I'm laughing out loud.
cool. That's the point.
I don't know. For me, the two officers they reminded me of the two robbers from Home Alone, personality-wise.
Oh, okay, yeah. I can
That's
see
where
that.
my head went.
I can see the wet
Marv and
bandits.
Harry. That's what they're.
Yep. I love those guys.
Oh, that
Thank
was
you.
so much fun. See,
Well done, sir.
Rob never disappoints. There's always
No.
like something
And
new
you're a
out
mail
there.
carrier too.
Yes.
So am I.
Is
Very
it weird
nice.
that in the past year I've met 3 mail carriers when
Not to
before
me.
I've never known one?
I meet him all the time, so no.
Well,
I mean, I hope so.
There's
Yeah,
this one
I mean,
weirdo that every time somebody delivers him a package, he has to give them a Reese's peanut butter cup.
there you go.
That
I
works.
have a
Yeah.
cooler outside during the summer. It says for FedEx and UPS and Amazon, please take a treat. Thank you for bringing my package and bringing it to the right door.
Oh, it's awesome. You get like snacks, chips, water, sodas. I've
Mhm.
gotten like gift cards for gas or like coffees and stuff before. Like all
I've
kinds
never
of really
gotten
cool
anything
stuff.
that nice. I have gotten like candy or chips or like little peanut butter crackers and like either water or Gatorade.
I've only seen like the little gift cards in like super rich areas. To be fair, and I've only seen that like I think twice.
My
I learned not to take actual home baked goods from. I delivered to some old folks, and so they have time and they're doing things, and that's great. And they'll come out and they'll offer you, home baked cookies. Whoa, it's a treat, home baked cookie. Unfortunately, their eyes don't work as well as they used to, and sometimes the measurements aren't exactly correct because they're so. I have trouble seeing what it says on the side of a measuring cup. Never mind someone who's in their early 90s. And yeah, I was warned from the guy who had the route before me. Say thank you, take the stuff, take it home. Don't take it home. Just don't eat it. So
my sister sent us video of when pre-Christmas she set out a ton of stuff, and there were like 2 cycles of the Ring video worth of one guy from Amazon taking like everything that didn't have nuts. So he must have had a peanut allergy or something, but he just like he's like, and he's holding them up to the Ring. He's like, yeah, and like putting it in his pocket. He's got like 3 water bottles, like 10 different candy bars and or granola bars and stuff that he's going through, a little packet of this and that. And it's like, well, Merry Christmas, man.
That's awesome.
It took me a while to get used to the Ring cameras. There is someone on my route now who, I don't know if they know it or not, but I believe they have footage of, there's an auto response. I didn't know you could do this. There's an auto response on their Ring camera. And I walked up the walkway, and I normally don't go to the door because they have a box by the street, but it was a package. I needed to drop it off on the porch. When I went up on the porch, dropped the package off, the little speaker by the door said something about, "We're on our way." And so they have video footage of me going, "Ah!" and then, and bitching just a little bit at the speaker. And then turning around and just waving over my shoulder as I leave.
I had a situation where I was bringing a big box up. I was carrying multiple boxes because it was one of these spots where I'd have to go back to my car and right back to this little area like over and over. So it's like, fuck it, I'll just carry all the boxes at once and deliver them all. So I was doing that, and I delivered them all, and I had one box left, and it was a giant box. I could barely see over this box. And I'm a pretty big guy. So I go to the person's porch. I go to put it down, and I hit ice, and I went whoop, threw the box up in the air. I flew, came down, and then the box came down on top of me. But I mean, I caught it. Like it came down and smashed me, and I'm just laying there for a minute, just laying there on the ground in front of their home, just dying, fucking laughing. I stood up, I put the box down, brushed myself off, laughed some more, and I just walked away. And I'm sure that is somewhere probably online, and I would love to see it.
You got the same like party foul reflexes that I do. Like I can't, like I said before, I can't walk through a room. I'm covered in bruises. But I still remember when I was living with my mother back in Hooper, where I grew up, I had a glass of milk and a bowl of chili, and each were quite full. And I was walking from the kitchen to the living room, but we had a dog gate up.
Sounds like it's going to be horrible.
Oh yeah. And I stepped over the dog gate, and I was wearing a skirt, like one of those broomstick skirts or whatever at the time. And it caught on the skirt and it tripped me. And I fell in like just flat on my chest and my face. I mean, my jaw hit the ground. I'm sure I probably cracked a tooth at that point in time. but I did not spill a drop of milk or chili because those were
Oh,
elevated.
nice.
Yeah, it
That is
was awesome. I was very proud of myself for that one.
Wishing you had a Ring camera.
You know, that was back in the day before they had that.
Yeah.
I'm old, so this was back in like 98, I think, or something like that. Which, no, maybe 96. I don't know. Something like that, though. But, okay, so, gonna go on next. Raz would like to go on.
Yes.
So,
I am
all
reading
right.
one of my non-horror, which is rare that I'll ever, unless it's a drug or drunk story, which I haven't told in a while, which I'll have to do that again soon, or something like this. I pretty much only have horror ever. So yeah. This is a short story called Colette Calls from the Void, Requiem for Ridlock. A little backstory. This is an old D&D character of mine that I've been remaking since 1990. He's a bard. I'm a big fan of like Dresden Files, the Nate Temple universe, the Vesic series, things like that. So the urban fantasy, modern day vibes is what I'm going for here. And this is the first short story I ever wrote in this world. It is adjacent to the Riverside series that I write because in real life, Dayton, Ohio and Riverside, Ohio are next door neighbors. So there will be crossover eventually. But yeah, this is an excerpt from that. My voice filtered through the stale smoke of the seedy bar on Fifth like the siren song from days of yore. Everyone's eyes were on me, everyone except for him. I watched him perform a circuit around the tables, unnoticed by the captivated patrons. A small smile graced my lips in mid-note. If you weren't expecting him, it was an impossible thing to witness. He'd be long gone before they noticed what was missing. My fingers maneuvered each string of the guitar in ways not known to human physics. The crescendo I was building was a force all its own. The closing notes caused a woman to fall right off her stool. I shifted the guitar to my back and let the strap hold it for me. Taking the mic in both hands, I addressed the stunned crowd. You've been great. I've been Seth Ridlock. I slid the mic back into the clip on its stand because only assholes with self-esteem issues dropped it at the end. Breaking a microphone that didn't even belong to you was a dick move, and venue owners remembered that kind of thing. Never shit where you eat, as the saying goes. As I hit that stool, a drink slid my way. The cute little blonde that had been following me around, couldn't tell you her name if I tried, had ordered me some penicillin to celebrate. I know what you're thinking. No, not the antibiotic. This penicillin was a smooth blend of 2 different top-shelf scotches with some ginger, honey, and lemon, to keep it refreshing. It was my go-to drink. Thank the gods that she at least allowed me a relaxing sip before she started talking. And yes, I said sip. Only monsters drink something meant to be savored. You were amazing tonight, Seth. I flashed my patented grin at her. It was an automatic reflex that happened every time someone said my name. It dazzled my friends and disarmed my enemies. Let no one say that I'm not a master of my craft. I do aim to please, I said. Aren't you bored with open mic nights at the Night Owl? If you're ever interested in doing more, let me know, she said. That caught my attention. I've been feeling out of the scene for 3 months now. Dayton, Ohio is something special. It reminds me of a garage-era Seattle, all grunge and no apologies. Define doing more, love. Her bright orange lips curled into a mischievous grin. I noticed an odd glint in her azure eyes. I hadn't caught that before. I made a mental note to pay closer attention to her. We haven't had a true bard here in ages, Seth. There's a high demand for a man of your talents. Now, the word bard can mean something different depending on who you're talking to. Scholars define it as an inspired master of storytelling, lyrical poetry, and music, like Chaucer or Shakespeare. Gamers of the modern age hear the word and it conjures images of wisecracking spell slingers that aren't afraid of a good blade now and then. I'm all those things in a little umbrella. How much was she aware of? Well, when you travel like I do, you pick up some great material. I just play and sing what I know, I said. You do more than that. I've been following your career for quite some time, she said. Why are you telling me this now? I was taking sips of penicillin more frequently now, resisting the urge to become a monster. Because I wasn't sure it was you until I spotted your friend creeping around. Well, fuck. This concerns me for a couple of reasons. One, I sometimes pay people to impersonate me. It keeps my image up when I need a break. The added layer of protection is a bonus. This is far from common knowledge. Also, you remember that guy I mentioned way back at the beginning? Her spotting him can't come to anything good. That meant the mind-altering magic I employed during the show hadn't affected her. It also meant she was resistant to fey magic. Morgold is a changeling. More on him later. Well, you have my attention. I left a polite pause at the end of the sentence, inviting her to remind me of her name. Her violet eyes narrowed and the corners of ruby lips curled. I've been buying you a drink once a week for 2 months, and you can't even remember my name? Wow, you are as arrogant as people say. I put more effort into my patented grin this time around, tossed in an eyebrow wiggle, because I suddenly felt the effects of whatever was slipped into my drink. That was a first, and I found it pleasantly surprising. There were worse ways to spend an evening. I allowed her to escort me to her car. I even tipped her a corny pickup line and an over-exaggerated wink for her troubles. Hey girl, are you a 2006 Toyota Corolla? Because I want to get inside you and smoke a cigarette. She laughed. I laughed. Her car laughed. It was a good time. Wait, what? Pardon me, miss, but I think something's wrong with your car. I believe it has a mouth, I said, in the best fancy old-time accent I could muster. That's because it isn't a car, Seth. Well, that explains it. You know, I didn't even care anymore. I felt fantastic, and there was a promise of adventure in the air. She opened the door, and I crawled right into the bucket seat. I apologized to the car with gusto as I made myself comfortable. A seatbelt snaked over my lap and clicked into place with a sigh. She, whose name I still could not recall, tapped the wheel 3 times and whispered something to the dashboard. Suddenly we were flying through alleys, across highways, and down back roads, like the night bus from Harry Potter. Tuck and roll, Grandma. So, where are we headed? I need to know what seedy motel bathtub I might end up in. She seemed nice, but that's how they got your kidneys. The keeper has requested an audience. Well, that certainly changed everything. The keepers were a group of beings that had formed and spread out across the world since the cataclysm. Their purpose was to monitor and record magical comings and goings. The magical community respected them. I'd run them to a few of them in my lifetime. They were a strange bunch. I kept a polite distance. Well then, let's not keep them waiting, I said, dad jokes ablazing. She remained silent, but the car groaned good-naturedly. I like this thing. Anyone or anything that appeased my ego was all right with me. I watched the scenery continue flying by, wondering how the evening would end after such a suspicious start. Perhaps I mean auspicious. Words are hard. I absolutely hummed an old grunge dirge written by one of the modern world's most famous bands. Bards. Bands. Let's go with Bards. Kurt Cobain. Something about Come As You Are felt right. The car, or whatever it was, stopped in front of what I can only describe as a defunct public library. It was nestled deep in a dense forest. In the middle of nowhere, I might add. A mental image of raccoons with library cards filtered into my brain, and that distracted me. I snapped back to attention when she knocked on my window. I collected myself lazily and joined her in the outside world. I followed her up to the dirty glass double doors out front and watched her press the button on a decrepit intercom 3 times. A voice boomed from everywhere, no speakers in sight. Password. She glanced up and to the right at something I couldn't see from where I stood and responded. Blatherskite. DuckTales? I asked, before anything serious dared disrupt my train of thought. Yeah, he's a little eccentric, she said. Before I could get in the obligatory, woo, a buzzer sounded and one of the glass doors popped open. As I walked inside, I couldn't help but notice how thick the dust was on the glass. Did you know it takes the average person just 17 seconds to draw a dick? If you are well practiced, however, the time frame notably diminishes. I caught up with her before she noticed I'd lagged, secretly wiping the dust from my finger off on the inside of my jacket. Yeah, I realize that I'm probably why we can't have nice things. I've come to terms with that. The side effects of whatever she put into my drink earlier were waning. I was determined to ride that wave as I followed, paying zero attention to where we were actually going. I caught glimpses of bookshelves, genre signs, and a Candyland-looking path that led to what I assume was the children's reading section. There was a familiar musk of books well read that permeated the air. It reminded me of long hours spent curled up by the fire as a child, going on adventures with some of my favorite characters. It was like belonging to something greater than yourself, something that lifeless screens could never understand. I ran right into her, lost in thought. She dead stopped right in front of me after rounding a corner. We were in a small office. Across from us sat some guy in a vintage MTV t-shirt and a green flannel. He had long, dirty blonde hair and wore wireframe glasses. If Garth Algar and Eddie Vedder had a love child, this guy was it. Ah, Seth Ridlock in the flesh. It's an honor to meet you, the walking 90s billboard said. I'd say the same about you, but in the spirit of honesty, I don't know who you are or what the fuck's even going on, I said. You got a good laugh out of that. I'll be here all week, people. Tip your waitress, I quickly fired. When he caught his breath, he glanced at my companion for the evening. That'll be all, Linnea. I appreciate your help on this matter. As she left, I couldn't resist getting the last word in. Loved you in Return of the Living Dead, by the way. No one dances naked in graveyards like you do, I said with an exaggerated wink. She glared at me for a solid minute and left. I hope she admired my art on the way out. I caught the tail end of a smirk on the other guy's face as my attention slid back over to him. He gestured to the chair next to him, and I took a seat. So, before we get started, I should probably introduce myself. You can call me Alec. Well met, Alec. What am I doing here? My buzz was all but gone by now. A true shame. I was paying attention and caring about what was going on. It was not a pleasant sensation. I'll keep this short and sweet, Seth. Someone recently stole a rare antiquity from the Narcocanus. He began. I cut him off quickly. The Narcocanus was bad news. It was a society of dark magic practitioners that operated in the underground web of caverns and decommissioned steam tunnels beneath the city. It was a suicide mission. What does that have to do with me? I was just getting to that part. Because of the theft, whispers of war have been spreading through the underground. I have a bad feeling about this. I need you to retrieve the item, return it to them, and do what you can to calm the situation, he said. I opened my mouth to speak, but quickly found the words had abandoned me. I closed my mouth again and blinked a few times, flabbergasted. I realize that I'm asking a lot of you. You know who I represent, yes? I simply nodded. Good. Then you understand why I cannot do this myself. I nodded at him once more. You see, the Keepers can't take direct action or use any of their knowledge for personal gain. I don't know who leads this organization, but they seem like a real douche gondola. Why bother collecting information only to tie the hands of those gathering it? I made a mental note to do some snooping when I had the chance. The more you know. I'm not asking you to do this out of the kindness of your heart, Seth. I intend to provide a payment worthy of the request upon completion. Now that got my attention. Payment, you say? He opened a drawer in his carved oak desk and removed a small obsidian box from it. He carefully placed the box on the desk near where I sat. I couldn't stop myself from doing my best Brad Pitt impression. What's in the box? Alec grinned widely. There was something special about this guy. I'm not sure if it was the obvious shared appreciation for pop culture references or the fact that he was going to pay me. I was fine with either. He turned the box to face me and opened the lid. Resting upon a cushion of red velvet were 7 intricately engraved crimson coins. I recognized them as Dominion marks. You can cash them in for substantial financial gain, but most folks traded them for unique items or political favors. Seeing 7 marks in that box boggled my mind. That's a lot for some smash and grab and a speech, Alec. What's the catch? I said. No catch. Consider it recompense for a job well done and some potential hazard pay, considering the location. If it also creates some good favor between us towards future endeavors, well, all the better, he said. Well, then color me captivated. If this is how you do business, keep my name on the books. What's my time frame here? Alex slid a black file folder in my direction, with a Keeper's sigil emblazoned on the front in silver. This is a one-night-only event. That file contains what you need to know about the object itself, along with its current location. I've included some blueprints and guard itineraries. Questions? Yeah, a whole shitload of them. But it doesn't look like we have time for a proper AMA. I'll figure it out as I go, I said while grabbing the folder. I have arranged some initial transportation. When you step out of my office, you will arrive directly at your current lodgings. From there on, you're on your own, Seth. as they say in show business, break a leg. Alec winked. Alec winked conspiratorially. I stood up from the chair and walked from his office directly into my apartment. A few guests were waiting for my arrival, though I had expected as much. Morgold had instructions to alert the rest of our ragtag group of miscreants in the event I went missing. I slipped into the living area and addressed my guests immediately. I bet you're all wondering why I've gathered you here today. A derisive snort came from a short and stout man lounging on a footstool as if it were a throne. He wore a black t-shirt with a hammer on the chest and a pair of black stretch jeans. Hans was an easy-to-please kind of dwarf. He had a great sense of humor and brewed the best ales and liquor I've ever had the pleasure of tasting. You set this entire emergency plan in place to have a reason to say that, I'll wager, he said. While subsequently running a hand through my impressive... he said while absently running a hand through his impressive beard. I eyed him with a sigh. Alas, my friends knew me far too well. More or less, but the emergency plan itself seems to have worked splendidly. Garo spared me a glance next. He was a lanky smartass in a black hooded cloak. While we knew his face well, few had ever seen it and lived to tell the tale. To look upon his true form would instill a creeping madness, a rumor he started eons ago, of course. He was an expert in various esoteric arcane fields, but specialized in the darker and chaotic aspects in particular. I can only assume that I wasn't torn from my studies with something so paltry as this, Seth, he said. There was a chilling tone to his voice. You would be correct, but only by sheer coincidence, I said with a wink. I was being stared down by Cormac now. He was leaning against the wall, thick arms crossed over a barrel chest. A black duster covered most of his native skin. I'm still not sure what it's made of. Cargo pants and matching black boots finished his ensemble nicely. His partially braided black hair barely concealed pointed ears. Nice to see you, Cormac. Send my love to Fever, I said. His only response was a nod. That's the thing I love most about him. He doesn't speak often and communicate loads of information with simple gestures. And the rare moment he used his voice, people listened. So where were you? That voice came from all around us, and it was creepy as hell, but you got used to it. This brings us back to Morgold. On the surface, he's a petty thief of delusions of grandeur. Of all the changelings I've ever met, none were as secretive as him. I took stock of those missing, but didn't question it. Our motley crew was a large one. We had a few secrets between us and saved each other's lives many times throughout the years. If someone wasn't present, there was a damn good reason for it. I caught them up to speed of the evening's events. What's the split? That meant Morgold was in. A Dominion mark for each of us. The leftovers will go into the vault for emergencies, as per usual, I said. The others answered with a silent nod. I grinned and rubbed my hands together, classic villain style, because why not? Some things, well, they just felt right. And that's it.
Nice. We need to read more of this.
Yes.
So where can we find more of this?
No. Actually, there are two stories written in this universe. There's this story from Seth's perspective, and there is a story from a vampire's character's perspective, who's actually a part of that group that was mentioned, but his name was not listed yet. And you can only find them in anthologies with Fake War, because that's right now kind of where I'm throwing them out there. This was Call for Adventure, or something, I think is the one that the Seth story is in. Seeking Adventure, I think is what it's called.
That was during the DuckTales.
Yeah, my DuckTales, yeah.
Very nice.
The more you know.
Oh, wait. Hold on. I got that.
That was great. There you go.
Yeah.
I am prepared.
That's why I have a
Yeah,
doctorate in popular culture. Literally, that story alone, I felt was worth the acceptance of the honorary degree. There's a lot packed into a tiny story.
I loved it. All right. Well, and if you want to hear more about Seth Ridlock, he might be showing up in Owlite Adventures.
Yes, he is 100% showing up as the character in Owlite. You've already met two characters from that story. Actually, a descendant of one and one of the other characters. The bartender in Allied Adventures is Hans, the dwarf. That is definitely Hans. And one of your party members is actually the daughter of Cormac and Fever. And also Gronk, but we haven't talked about Gronk yet.
Fever! Oh, sorry. I do enjoy Fever. She is fun. I don't know if you guys watch the Allied Adventures. We're having some good fun being gaming again. For some of us, it's been a long time. And
Cool.
do we have a full party yet for Jason's run?
I don't know exactly yet. He joined our Discord recently, so he's working on it. It's going to be in the White Wolf universe, but he's told me some interesting spins he's got for the story and for the availability of things. You're not going to like be a traditional vampire or anything like that. It's pretty interesting what he's thinking about. So eventually we'll get to where Thursdays is Allied Adventures period. 1 week you'll get D&D, and the other week you'll get a White Wolf universe sort of game. So far we've just got the D&D at the moment.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested, let us know. We'll try to get you into the party.
Yeah.
If you're a gamer and you miss the gaming, I love rolling my dice, even though I've been not the best on dice. I ended up writing a carpet with a singing sword or a moving sword that was moving itself. My character ended up like, I'll throw a carpet over it, then I'll sit on it to try to weigh it down. Oh no, I'm riding it like a pony in front of an old like grocery store. There's a spider in it.
It was a flying sword that she just thought throwing carpet over it would keep it from flying, and did not keep it from flying.
I thought that throwing the carpet over it would take the blade away, and that if I sat on it, that I would weigh enough to put it down. But I did not.
Here she is,
so
just
that
going
was,
up and down.
Yeah, so that was something that Fire Genasi did a little bit ago.
You didn't go with the old standby of.
No, we already had somebody grabbing the swords, and bad things happened. Like if you got injured, or if you were like injuring the blade, you got injured yourself. But you had to roll will checks to get rid of the swords, and so we like covered the swords, and we're trying to get it, and it became a whole thing.
All because an old drunk asshole guy found a magic house and decided to use it to prank people.
Yeah, and currently, one of our characters is terrified of rugs because we had a rug mimic, and so after that, you got to watch you can catch these. We have them saved on the YouTube channel, and we'll be doing another one again hopefully soon.
That's the other character you guys met already. You met the car. The car is that rug mimic. He was born in that house. Yeah, his whole backstory involves that adventure. I forgot to do that.
Well, we kicked his ass and burned him to pieces, and then we collected rugs as we went. Because one guy was like, "I'm not trust," which actually turned out to be in our advantage, because the next hallway that had a rug in it, that he started rolling up the rug and like poking it and then rolling it up to get it out of the way, there was a pit trap, and the rug conveniently fell in and like covered the spikes and disclosed the pit trap to us. So
nice.
Yeah. So having somebody who's paranoid of rugs is fun.
It was the most interesting way I've ever seen someone locate and disarm a trap. I'll tell you that. By rolling a rug up on the floor.
He's just like, "You're gonna roll the rug up?" "Yes, I'm gonna roll the rug up." Oh, okay. We rolled the rug up. Then we rolled up every rug. And then sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Pyle,
I'm drinking because I have to watch Killer Tongue later. So
Pyle, you got a dip for now?
I do have to dip, guys. Appreciate all you guys, and hopefully I can at least just come back and watch you guys.
Oh, I mean, you can jump back in later if you want to. Just we're here regardless. Love you, man.
All right, bye, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye, pal.
And then there were five.
And then there were five. Dorothy, you two want to go next? Do you want me to go? How we want to do this?
Would you like to go first, Mike?
Sure. Let me see.
Yay.
I'm starting to slow down myself. Which one should I do? All right. This one is my most recent one. If we're doing non-horror, I can do this one safely. Um, Friday really liked this one when she read it, so this one's called Memory Lane. Eden gazed at the night sky as she waited patiently for her husband to emerge from the council chambers. Normally, they only met once a lunar cycle, but this was the third meeting in a week, and she was getting concerned. As the wife of the counselor, a lot of the citizens of the arboreal city of Maywood would start asking questions of her, questions she wanted answers to as well. However, it would have to wait until Matthias emerged and they could talk. Until then, Eden contented herself to look upon the 6 different moons that scattered across the sky from her vantage point at the top of the observation tower. A love of astronomy was the second thing that connected Eden to Matthias. The first being the fact that she was the one who initially found him at the outskirts of Maywood over 100 years ago. The poor elf and his youth arrived with a small group of travelers to their city. Strangely enough, they all had no recollection of where they came from or how they ended up close to Maywood. All they had were their names and what clothes and few provisions they had on them. Being hospitable but cautious folk, the elves of Maywood took them in to protect them from the dangers of the outer world while making sure there were no threat to them. Unfortunately, no medicines or herbs were able to help them recover their memory, and as they had nowhere else to go, the council allowed them to remain at first on a provisional basis, hoping that their memories would eventually return and they could reveal more about their origins and future intentions. Over the years, when it became clear to everyone involved that their memories would never return and that they were integrating well into the city, the lost travelers were allowed to stay permanently. Over the decades, Matthias was the one who proved himself the most. An intellectual with charisma to spare, it was with great pleasure and surprise to Eden that he was admitted to the council 15 years ago. The upside being she was no longer one of the last elves to know anything, she was among the first. The downside was also she was among the first, and a lot of the other citizens looked to her for answers. Eden's reflections over the history of her spouse was interrupted by a knock at the trap door that was the entrance to the highest building in Maywood. When it popped open, the love of Eden's life emerged from the floor. Smiling, she headed towards him and helped pull Matthias to his feet, then wrapped her arms around him to greet him with a long kiss, ending by brushing her index finger along the point of an ear. Someone missed me, Matthias hummed as they separated. Eden always knew exactly how to get this kind of reaction from him. Very much so, love, Eden replied. So tell me, what's been keeping you and the rest of the council so busy lately? You're having way more meetings than normal, and you haven't spoken about them to anyone, even me, which isn't like you at all. Matthias had a small frown on his face. I am sorry for all the secrecy, darling. I promise we have a very good reason. What could that reason be? Eden asked. Things have been very peaceful. For decades, the most unusual thing to happen here in our lifetime was when you and your companions arrived here. She stopped and thought. It has something to do with you, doesn't it? Matthias turned to look at the night sky, smiling at the several moons that filled it and turning his attention to another spot, the Great Lion constellation. Tonight's a good night for a walk, don't you agree? I'll tell you everything, I promise. But it's been such a stressful last few days, and I think I need this. I guess it's not too much to ask, Eden conceded. But you better tell all when we're done, she poked her husband at the center of his chest. Of course, Matthias smiled as he opened the trapdoor and climbed down the ladder. When he reached the bottom, he looked up as Eden started her own descent. I'll catch you. Go ahead and drop. What? Eden looked down at Matthias, who had opened his arms. Don't be silly. I am perfectly capable of climbing down this ladder. But it'll be fun, Matthias countered with a mischievous grin. I'm your wife, the wife of a counselor, not some silly girl. Ah, but being my wife, I know you have a silly side, and it's been repressed for far too long. No one's gonna know. It's just us here. Just let go, Matthias insisted. Or I can enjoy looking up your skirts as you climb down. Either way is fine for me. Eden then let go of the ladder and landed in her husband's arms as he let out a small laugh. See, it wasn't so bad now, wasn't it? He asked, looking into her eyes. Eden wanted to at least feign indignity, but lost herself looking into his golden eyes as this time he captured her lips. She let out a small yelp as he playfully squeezed her bottom, allowing him to deepen the kiss before gently letting her down. That was a little unfair, Eden blushed, but her smile let Matthias know how much she enjoyed the surprise. Just letting you know I missed you too, he replied. Shall we? Eden nodded and followed her husband down the wooden stairs and encircled the rest of the tower until they were at the bottom. Linking arms, they walked out into the main road of Maywood. The canopy of the gigantic trees obscured the night sky from this point, but the magical lamps spaced equidistantly along the road provided enough illumination for any pedestrians. As Matthias led his wife toward the center of town, they approached the commons. There are several benches arranged in a semicircle facing a small stage where events such as plays and concerts could be performed, as well as important announcements made to the citizens. It was the most important place in town. Even though there was an event planned, several couples and families also used the place for getting together and socializing, as was the case this evening. One of the couples, a pair of elvish women, were whispering to each other as they caught sight of Matthias and Eden. One gave her partner an encouraging look, but she still looked shy as she walked towards them. Can we help you, Eden asked. No need to hesitate, she smiled. Well, Counselor Matthias, Beta Eden, we were hoping you can give us any news. A lot of us were wondering if something major is about to happen. We know you've been meeting quite often lately, and to be frank, some of us are getting nervous. I understand and I apologize for causing worry, Matthias replied. One moment, please. He walked up to the stage to gather everyone's attention. Good evening, everyone, he started, waiting for the people to settle down before smiling and addressing his people. As you all probably know, the Maywood Council has been meeting quite often of late, and I understand this has caused some concerns. I promise you we will make an announcement tomorrow at first light that will answer all your questions. Feel free to spread the word too. In the meantime, I encourage everyone to do what you're doing right now. Spend time with your friends and family. This is such a beautiful night, and I personally want to make the most of it. For example, I'm going to take my beloved wife on a private nighttime stroll. I wish everyone a pleasant evening. He waved at them amicably before descending the stage to once again take his wife's arm and continue their walk. A private nighttime stroll, Eden looked over at Matthias with a small smile. I think you're up to more than just a pleasant walk. This was just the first stop, Matthias replied. The Collins is a very important place, not just to Maywood, but to us as well. It's where we first pleaded our case for asylum, where we were eventually granted citizenship, and most importantly, where we got married, Eden finished, and also where you were sworn in as a counselor. Yes, but being married to you is the most important of all those events. He then pulled her closer, briefly pecking her cheek before continuing on. Just don't forget your promise, Eden whispered in her husband's ear. You'll still be the first to know, Matthias replied, but I hope we don't get any more interruptions. I really want this night to be about us. He squeezed her hand and decided to lead her off the main path. Where are you taking us? Eden asked curiously after several minutes. We're almost at the edge of town. Wait, this is starting to look familiar. Matthias stopped and kissed Eden on the cheek before releasing her hand and making a quick sprint ahead of her. Right here. This spot. This is where we first met, he declared. Yes, it is. This is where it all began for us, Eden replied, who had no idea at the time. Yeah, at the time you had your spear pointed at me, Matthias chuckled. I think you were as scared of us as we were of you. Even then I could tell you had leadership potential, taking responsibility for your entire group and asking us for shelter. I'm just glad you were willing to listen and give us a chance, Matthias smiled. So am I. After all, eventually gained a husband out of it. Eden moved closer and wrapped her arms around his neck. Did I ever apologize for pointing a weapon at you? You didn't need to. You're watching out for Maywood like I was watching out for my friends. Well, please accept my apology now. Eden reached up and brushed the points of Matthias's earlobes as she pressed her lips against his. After briefly opening her eyes to make sure no one was around, she gently rubbed her knee against his crotch, neither breaking the kiss until Matthias had to catch his breath. Darling, he gasped as she moved her lips to his neck. Oh, I like where this is going. His hands once again moved to her bottom, squeezing it firmly. But not yet, he breathed, trying to regain some composure. Are you sure? Ian pulled away with an impish grin, pointing at his pants. Seems like you're conflicted. Very much so, but I want this night to last as long as possible, Matthias replied. And there's more I want to show you. Well, lead the way, husband, Eden said, giving Matthias his own bottom a playful swat as he passed by her, causing him to yelp. But don't keep me waiting all night. There's that playful side I love so much, she grinned back to her. It's only for you, Eden replied as she took his hand. Matthias led her along the perimeter of Maywood, avoiding the busier parts of their arboreal city. There were a smaller number of magical lamps placed around the city's borders to mark it, so thankfully it wasn't completely dark. At first, Edie wasn't sure where Matthias was leading her until she saw a pair of trees that curled into a natural arch. Matthias, she grinned. So this is your game. What? Isn't this place important to you too? He replied, feigning innocence. Hmm. Stay here and count to 60. Slowly. Edie pecked his cheek with a wink before releasing his hand and ran ahead of him, going underneath the arch with a giggle. This piqued Matthias's interest. It was tempting to immediately follow his wife, but he did as she asked. He also walked rather than ran in order to give her extra time for whatever she had planned. As he followed the natural to a large clearing where the night sky was visible in all of its glory. The brightness of the 6 moons was reflected in the large natural pool at the center of the clearing, giving it a comfortable soft glow. Matthias took it all in wonder, but lost his breath when he saw Eden standing on a large rock that sat at the edge of the pool, waving at him wearing only her small clothes. Her outfit lay in a small pile at the base of the rock. This is where things really changed for us, Eden seen as her husband approached, where I think I took the biggest risk of my life. Matthias nodded as he removed his boots and slowly started to undress in front of her, raising her excitement. I had no clue why you took me here. Maywood had just officially declared we were to be allowed to stay as permanent residents after being here a few years. I was happy enough with that and the fact that we were good friends, he said as he walked up to the rock, also with only his small clothes remaining. Not me. I already knew his specialty were and wanted more. Eden wrapped her arms around Matthias's neck and softly kissed his lips. As I recall, you were totally clueless to my intentions, she chuckled. I didn't want to assume anything, Matthias replied, returning her kiss. Didn't want to risk ruining something good. Subtlety wasn't my strong suit. I needed you to spell it out for me. I eventually figured that out. Eden let go of her husband and took a few steps ahead of him on the rock, facing the lake and looking over her shoulder towards him. And a figure says, nothing says, I want you, more than showing you my body in all of its glory. She started to lower one of the straps of her small clothes, Matthias getting aroused by the show. But even then, you're so shy, so hesitant to even kiss or touch me without explicit permission. It was weirdly both endearing and frustrating. I'm glad you got over that. She smiled as she freed one of her breasts from its confinement. Well, I did have a great teacher, Matthias reproached his wife and hugged her from behind, squeezing her waist and kissing the soft skin on the side of her neck. Now I'm not nearly so shy. As his lips returned to her neck, Matthias sucked and nipped at it while his free hand moved to the other strap of her undergarment, pulling it down, then immediately started to massage her. His lips pulled away from her neck, relieving a dark love bite that he licked softly. Ian started to breathe harder and rubbed her bottom against him. Matthias grunted as his small clothes started to become uncomfortable. Oh, do we have a problem? Eden teased, grunting against him harder, moving one of his hands towards her face as she took two of his fingers into her mouth and started to suck on them. Over 100 years of knowing you, and you've never stopped being so desirable. Eden let go of Matthias's fingers and pulled away slightly, just enough to turn around. Then I guess we better take care of this before you get messy. She licked her lips and caressed Matthias's bare chest, breaking her nails down his body, making him grasp in anticipation before she pulled down his own small clothes, finally giving him the freedom he needed. Eden, Matthias whispered her name like something sacred, looking into her playful eyes, his heart racing as much as his wife's was. She reached out with a pair of fingers and gave him a single stroke, then grinned up at him. Come catch me! She suddenly laughed and jumped in the water, splashing him, shocking him with how cold it was. You! Matthias gasped. He plunged in after her, knowing he could quickly used to the water's temperature faster this way, and started to swim after his beautiful elven spouse. For the next half hour, they swam and chased after each other, laughing as they splashed and tagged each other, sneaking kisses, before eventually laying down on the rock to rest and let the night air dry them off. You're right, Eden said when her breath started to come. I don't get to let this side of me out as often as I used to. I needed this. Thank you, love. Matthias smiled back at her and let his gaze drift up and down her nude form, watching a few water drops trail down her skin while reflecting the light of the moons. It gave her an otherworldly appearance to him that made her even more enticing. Eden felt his gaze intensely, and his look wasn't just adoration, but intense concentration. She shivered, but not from the breeze, and used one arm to cover herself and clenched her legs together. Matthias, why are you staring at me like that? It's not the first time you see me naked and won't be the last. She started to turn away, her back facing her husband. He placed a hand on her shoulder and squeezed it gently. I'm sorry, Eden. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. It's just, you look so beautiful. I wanted to burn that side into my memory. But that's what this night's been about, isn't it? We visited every place where an important memory between the two of us happened. He came to us as an amnesiac. Are you suddenly worried about forgetting all this? Maybe, Matthias admitted. It's because my original memories have started to come back to me. Eden reached her shoulder to rest her hand on top of his. That's wonderful news, isn't it? She hesitated. Is this what your recent meetings have been about? What you've been keeping secret? Matthias took her hand and squeezed it. One moment. Not here. Let's go home. I'd like to explain everything there in private. Okay then. I suppose I can wait just a little bit longer, Eden said as she stood up. They quickly dressed, not carrying they weren't perfectly dry, and headed straight for their home, hand in hand. It was one of several dwellings near the top of the canopy, which also had skylights in each room. Locking the door behind them, the couple sat down together in the living room, facing each other. Okay, Eden said, taking a deep breath. I'm ready. Matthias took his own deep breath before proceeding. I'm not the only one regaining their memories. All of us that came here together. We're all remembering everything. But out of your original group, you're the only one that's a member of the council, and none of them have ever been seen going into meetings, Eden noted. I've been meeting with them in person as well. I wanted to let them know what was happening was planned from the beginning, and they shouldn't be afraid, Matthias explained. Left it up to them if they wanted to explain what was going on to their partners. Eden reached for his hand and clasped it. Matthias, you're starting to scare me. What's really going on? Are we all in danger? Are you going to warn everyone of something coming tomorrow? No, Matthias replied matter-of-factly. There won't be a town meeting tomorrow because there won't be a tomorrow. Not for Maywood, at least. Eden immediately recoiled from her husband, struck with horror. Who are you? She demanded. Invaders? A small advance force before a larger one arrives? No, nothing like that. We have no evil intentions towards Maywood or its people. We're actually very grateful. Matthias put his head in his hands, sighing. I'm not explaining this correctly. It's difficult. Try, Eden insisted. We've known each other for 100 years. Had what until this moment was an almost perfect marriage. And now you're saying it'll all come to an end tomorrow? What are you, a doomsayer? Has our life together been a dream? Our love a lie? Tell me! Matthias pulled his head, and Eden could see her tears starting to form. Our love a lie? No. A dream? Yes, he said stiffly. And it's time for the dream to end and the dreamer to awaken. Eden lost her breath at that moment, her hand going to her heart. A dream? My whole life. It can't be. Matthias hesitantly reached out to take her hand and squeeze it. My darling, you aren't the dreamer, he said softly. You're the dream. Maywood. All of us wonderful citizens except for myself and my original companions. You were all made for us. We just didn't know until this week started because even our memory loss was part of the plan. Why? Eden asked. Matthias pointed to the skyline above them, the 6 moons glowing down upon them. This sky. It is what the stars and moons will look like at our new home, Matthias explained. Then he took Eden's finger and pointed at a small yellow star in the Great Lion constellation. That star is where our old home is. My friends and I aren't even elves. We're called humans, and we're wanderers looking for new homes among the stars. But it's a very long journey. How long? Eden asked. Longer than our lifetimes. That's why we put ourselves into a deep slumber, one that will slow our aging as we travel. Even though we have the means to keep the body alive almost indefinitely, it wouldn't matter if our minds became feeble in the process. So we also create new temporary lives for ourselves in whatever kind of world we can imagine. It's to keep our minds engaged and thriving where our bodies rest. The amnesia was actually to help us acclimate to this world better. It's easier to live somewhere else for a century if you don't miss your old life as much. So you're getting close to your destination then? Eden asked, her eyes starting to tear up as well. And you don't need us anymore? Need me? Eden, even now my love for you is as real as it's ever has been. And I did need you. All of our ups and downs, all our time together. I want you to know that if nothing else, you saved my life and you have my eternal gratitude. Then tonight was to say goodbye, she reached once again for Matthias. Partially, but I also wanted to wake up with knowing you so fresh in my mind I'll never forget even as I start my new life at the new world. So in even the smallest possible way I can take you with me. How long do we have left? Eden asked. Until sunrise. A few hours. Is it possible for me to see what you really look like then? I think so. I'll just need to concentrate. He stood up from his seat in front of Eden and smiled. One moment. Not used to reading out loud so much. Wait, Eden held up her hand. Strip for me first. I want to see all the differences. Matthias suddenly blushed. If you're sure. At Eden's insistent nod, Matthias shed his damp garments to tell you as bare as he was at the clearing earlier this evening. Okay, here it goes. He closed his eyes and took a breath. As Eden looked him over, he shrank in height slightly, but became broader at the same time. His ears went from long and pointed to short and rounded. His long pale hair darkened and also shrank until it was close to his scalp in half-inch thick curls. While he lost that hair, he gained it in other places throughout his body, where his arms, legs, chest, and back were once bare. Suddenly, dark curls began to sprout, and on his face, a thin amount of hair also framed his mouth. Only 2 places didn't change. One was the place Eden knew so intimately well, and no one else. The other was his eyes. They were the same eyes she fell for, and the ones that still gazed upon her so lovingly. Eden knew then that he spoke true, and all her previous doubts left her. Noticing her gaze, Matthias covered himself with his hands shyly and looked at Eden questioningly. You look different, all right. Eden got up on her feet and approached him, but you're still so very attractive. She lightly brushed her lips on his and traced his much shorter earlobes, which gave her the familiar moan she'd loved from the beginning. Still works, I see, she quipped as she pulled away. Wonder if that's true of everything you liked. She walked towards her bedroom, looking at him over her shoulder. Coming? She asked as she entered. Are you sure? After everything I revealed, you're not upset at me? He was answered by a flying ball of Eden's garments to his face. He yelped in surprise, and when he recovered, he saw her completely bare, standing in the threshold of their bedroom, hands gripping the door frame and staring at him with the intensity he rarely saw. Matthias, are you or are you not my husband? We've been teasing each other all night, and I demand satisfaction. You wanted a night to remember? Come here and claim it. Make love to me as a human. My real name is Maxwell, he said softly as he walked towards the woman he loved for so long. Well then, Maxwell, I hope you're prepared to invoke your name upon my lips the rest of the night. With that invitation, Eden grabbed his arm to pull them into their room. Maxwell quickly overcame his shyness, being more vocal with each motion, exploring for the last time the woman he loved for a century. They each knew exactly where their lips and hands belonged, and in the end, they had lost count of how many times they called each other's names. When they were finally spent, Eden laid down on her back, Maxwell lying on his side, resting his hand on her breast like a pillow while they clasped hands. You were incredible, Eden, Maxwell said. So were you. I guess we literally were made for each other. That didn't make our life have any less meaning, Maxwell said firmly. I've loved you for a century, and that will never go away. I'll never forget you. He squeezed her hand, and she kissed the top of his head as they both drifted to sleep, knowing only one would wake up, carrying the memory of the other into a beautiful new world. The end.
I love
Yep.
this.
Lovely.
Very well done.
I
Saucy.
I love how it starts fantasy and ends sci-fi. And
Yes, that was like my big twist for that story.
and see, I got to where when it was coming through, I had this feeling where it's like, okay, she's still like, how much of it is his dream and what he hopes that she'll do versus, what she would actually do, since she isn't actually real, but she's real to him. So
Yep.
that had me really gripped in there. Like, yeah. So
And I fast forward a little bit because I didn't want to get too spicy over this. The real version's spicier.
okay, yeah, we appreciate that. We don't. I've had somebody ask me to read basically porn on here before, and it's like, no.
We don't want to get banned.
Yeah, when I did the
first
Alice in
attempt at a
Wonderland,
romance story too, so getting out of my comfort zone for a while with that one.
Nice.
well, it turned out really well. It's so
Thank
in
you.
depth, and it all turns out to be the dream, and it's just like, wow, you really captured like how deep people can get. So I fucking love that. Yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
It's awesome, man.
All right. Friday. It's Friday.
Okay, so I did not get the memo. We were not supposed to do horror because I had.
No.
I
There
didn't
wasn't
know.
a memo for that. I wasn't doing horror. Like,
Oh,
it was multi-genre
became a
day.
theme. Like the vast majority of my stuff is horror, so
Yeah.
it's like I only have 2 things I can think of off the top of my head that work horror, and a third,
Yeah.
but that one's not out yet, so I wasn't sure if I was allowed to do that one.
We were just including all genres today, not just horror, but horror is still always a plus.
Okay, cool. Because I've been working on my Friday Baker book, and this is the story that I got finished today, or at least it feels like it's finished. I don't know. That I found earlier that there was a story I thought it was finished, and then I found out it wasn't finished, and then and then I reread it as the finished version. But this is later on in Friday's life. That previous story that I read way later, where she's an adult. Blackbird's End. Tears streamed down Friday's face as she tried to comprehend why she was looking at Liz's lifeless eyes in her lap. I missed an S. She held her head in front of hers, and her fear was becoming overwhelming. Beep, beep, beep. The alarm was going off. Friday jerked awake and nearly fell off the bed, breathing so hard she was nearly hyperventilating. It felt so real. The nightmare spooked her so badly. But she and Liz had an appointment to keep. Once she calmed down, she got ready to go. Liz and Friday pulled up to the driveway at 386 Blackwood Road. Friday cringed at the energy coming off the house. It made her chest tight and her stomach nauseous. What was the great pull that Liz had to this place? She didn't feel the same things. From the evil feelings, Friday does not believe she can clear the house of the energy. It seems like it's deeper, like it's connected to the ground. Some research may be needed later after the walkthrough. I don't like how this place feels. I will not go in. The energy feels like a steel band around my lungs, and I am so nauseous. Friday explained to Liz what she was getting from the house. It did not seem Liz was getting it. For Liz, it was a different story. The call was what was inside, strong and calming. She felt like she belonged. She had never felt like this before. It's so cute. All the requirements, and it has all the requirements, and it's beautiful. She guessed ecstatically. There is no way this house is bad. Let's not look a gift deer in the mouth. You're not hearing me. This is a bad place. I don't think I can clear it, even with the help of every witch I know. It feels like this dark energy is in the ground, not the house. Friday tried so hard to get her to see reason. In answer, Liz opened the door and got out of the vehicle. She absolutely is determined to see the inside of this house. With absolute refusal to believe what she was told, she looked up at the house. The crisp sunshine yellow paint and the bright white shutters made her smile ear to ear, and she normally didn't like yellow. Then there was the screened-in porch that she could see her grandbabies playing on. She could see Miranda painting on her easel over in the right corner of the front side of the porch. She sang to herself, "Let's see the inside." As she opened the porch, she walked the short distance to the front door and opened it. The light wood staircase was beautiful, and to the right, the walls were striped white and yellow with light thinned wood strips every 3 or 4 feet. The first room had shelves built into the wall. The next room was covered in shadow. It felt cooler than the whole house. She walked into it knowing nothing else ever again. Friday had thought the house would not show its true colors on the first visit, would not have had anything to leech off of. It had been vacant for the last year. She brought up the case file that had been sent to her by another team. Kennedy told her that their team was more equipped to deal with it. Initial call. Mr. Callahan called and left a message on my cell with his number and name and a request to get back with him as soon as possible. I returned his call after work. He explained. Things were moving in the middle of the night. Furniture was moved around the rooms, spices being placed in odd places, books and other objects floating randomly. There were voices that whisper in different places, footsteps, doors opening and closing on their own. We set up a day for our meeting. Initial meeting. Sarah and I went to the house in Darren. It was a lovely house with 3 small bedrooms. The car door opened and Liz got in, all smiles like she was on cloud 9. Friday barely glanced up from her phone as Liz started the car and backed out. She continued reading about the tour of the house and how they planned on an investigation. As she read of Kennedy describing the voices of the ladies talking in the closet. A bloody head fell in her lap. Her best friend and mother-in-law's head. She looked up. This black void, this black as void humanoid thing smiled back at her as the car sped up. It slowly turned its head and looked out the windshield. She turned her head and looked. A Greyhound bus was passing in front of them as they sped as fast as the car could go into the side of the bus. The end.
Another awesome story in that universe. I really like that.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm a big haunted house person, so I love that, and I want to know more about the house because haunted houses. And hello, Anthony.
Hey.
Haunted houses make me happy.
Oh yeah, I picked up Sims again on my PC after a conversation I had with you the other day, Del, about doing our whole kind of cul-de-sac thingy.
So here's a fun thing. You can now download a additional thing that I can't remember what they're called. It's not an app, but it's for a mod. Thank you, for Sims content, where you can play Sims 4 in a multiplayer setting now. So you can make your towns and have multiple people doing stuff and interact with the characters. And we've been working.
Already?
What?
No.
I was like, it wasn't multiplayer already?
No, Sims has never been multiplayer.
It's always been I had friends where we would pass around, like, if you if you all have the same packs and the same extra content, you can pass around files. So you can pick up where the next person left off. And we were doing things like giving each other like our characters and stuff with all the stuff so we could play with each other.
Yep.
But now you can actually multiplayer The Sims, and we were working on doing a book and setting it up so that we could like build our town or our little cul-de-sac area and make all of our houses so that when we write it, we have a visual place to go into. And so that's something else we're going to be doing. And when we release the book, we'll also release all of the Sim content so that people can check that out too.
Nice.
But yeah,
that's all side project.
It's all haunted houses stuff. So we're gonna have to get Friday to put her haunted house in there to build it for us, because there are a lot of haunted mods too. So you can do that.
I used to love the website 7 Deadly Sims. That's where I would go get all the horror and fucked up content, like all the other past versions.
Which haunted house? There's like 6 haunted houses in that book.
You can make the whole town, man. There's like tons of space. The fun thing about Sims is you can eject them and you can just like wipe the board clean and completely inhabit you can rebuild every place and just make it your own town.
I haven't learned how to do that yet. I need to do that because I'd like to build a Riverside. It's a very small town.
I will teach you. You'll want to use the different regions and stuff because you can't build the whole town in the one small spot.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
But we'll go through.
There's sections of Riverside, actually, so it works out.
All right. So I'm going last.
Which is now?
Yes, this is now. Let me wipe the wine off my face real quick. For once, I am going to be doing... maybe not for once, but I'm going to be doing Hi, I'm Del, and I'm going to be telling you guys a true story that happened to me. This is more on the spooky side of things and witchy, weird kind of stuff, but this is something that happened to me. And to protect the innocent, I will name my friend that this occurred to me with as John, like John Doe. So, back in the day, around like 93, 94, I used to work in a place called I used to work in a restaurant in Fremont, Nebraska. And I worked in the bar there as well. They were kind of separate entrances and exits. And my friend John and I were really into the witchy stuff at that point in time. And we had some strange things happen. Like on the same day, he came to visit me in the bar one day. And I had had this just really bizarre dream and had ended up like in my sleep injuring myself. And I had a bruise in the shape of like a lightning bolt, which like I was into ruins at the time. And I was like, oh, that's, not like there's a ruin for that. And I forgot to look it up what it was beforehand. I think it still is. But he showed up like the same day and he was wearing shorts and he was like, yeah, I dreamt that I was like slamming, like in my dream, I had been trying to get out of a car. And in his dream, he had been trying to get somebody out of a car and kept slamming the car door on his leg. And like, I show him the bruise that I have and he pulls up the like basketball shorts, thing and shows on his thigh a rune in the same shape as the one that's on my leg. And we'd had a number of dreams where one of us would start talking about it, the other would be like, shush, 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 you dreamt about this place? And would draw out, like there was one in particular I remember where it was like walking down a stone corridor where it was empty on the sides and there were these huge tall pillars that had runes engraved on them. And then when you finally crossed to the end, there was, it was more of an Egyptian themed type of thing and a really weirdly dimensioned room with an altar in it, all in gold with a bunch of different hieroglyphs. And he's drawing them for me as I'm explaining it to him. So we have this really tight connection. And we have spoken before about how sometimes there are places in the world that are thin and you can cross over into a different place that doesn't quite exist in our world. And we've discussed this a couple of times on different shows about stuff. And this happened with John and I a lot. When we would spend time together, we tended to somehow break time and space. It just randomly happened. So this is my story about when we followed a will-o'-the-wisp. And to set it up, I was getting off at 12:30 in the morning, I guess, so middle of the night. And John got to the place that I was working, picked me up, and we went about a quarter of a mile north to fill up his truck with gas. And then we went to the other side of town, and that is on the south side of town. We left, and I've just been looking at Google Maps real quick because I wanted to make sure that I was covering everything. And he picked me up at, like I said, 12:30, and we went there, filled up with gas, crossed town, and went about 4 or 5 miles south. And we were just looking for something to do. Like every now and then we'd just be like, yeah, let's just figure out what's going on, see something. And as we were driving down the highway, we noticed something on one of the sides of the road that looked like a weird little cloud. And so we headed off and we went to the east. And there was this once we got on the country road, if you guys know country roads at all, they're pretty much mile marker roads. Everyone is a mile unless there's a huge field that somebody has or something else built on it. We started going by this town named Lashara, but there was this little cloud that was in front of the truck. And we just decided to follow it. And we were going pretty slow at the time, probably like 20, 30 miles an hour, so we wouldn't lose it. And I actually, at one point, I got out of the truck just to see if it was still there. I mean, like, it was weird. It was this little, like, this big of a cloud that was in front of us and, like, hovering near the ground, like, a couple feet off. And it wasn't super foggy out or anything. We don't have that here that often. And so I got out of the truck and saw it was there, and it was just hovering in front of the truck. I approached it a little bit and it backed off, and I didn't want to mess with anything, so I got back in the truck. But it was definitely there. It wasn't something like we were seeing on the windshield or just being weird about it. It was there, and it reacted to my movement. And so we followed this thing. And like I said, we were going like 20, 30 miles an hour, maybe, depending on how fast it would go. We went to the west and went by this town of Lashara. A couple of times we circled around it. And then eventually it led us to the east side. And what I didn't know about John at the time was that he's scared of bridges. And we'd probably driven already like 20, 25 miles or so. And as we went to the east side, there was suddenly a bridge at every mile marker. And they started off just like, a regular crossing, but there shouldn't have been bridges there because there was no stream, there was nothing. And it was every mile marker that we went through as we were following this, whether it be, east to west or north to south, there was a bridge. And they kept getting in more and more decrepit states until like the last one I was getting kind of freaked out on because it was like this little, you could see rust on it and part of it was made of wood. And it was just really creepy. And once we crossed that bridge, and we had to have gone like 7 or 8 miles, mostly west and slightly south, we ended up coming to this hill and there were trees growing over it. And as we were going up the hill, the trees grew so close together that you could not see the sky or the end of the hill. All you could see was trees. So we kept going up, and then it took us on a little detour when we got right up to the top of the hill into this little property area. We pulled off and there were a couple of outbuildings and a huge barn. And it was just like, it wasn't an actual farm. It was just where they stored their tractors and had a couple barns for things. And so we parked there and we're hanging out and chatting and like, well, this has been a weird night, and discussing things. And I had a tarot deck and I'd been meaning to do a reading for him before. And so we started doing the tarot reading and we were parked in front of this big red barn. And if you know anything about farming and barns, barns on the top level will have a door that opens because that's how you use like a hay rack or something that it moves everything up so that you don't have to carry it up there. But people usually store hay and stuff in the top of their barns. And that door was partially open. It wasn't swung all the way open, but it was slid over maybe 3 or 4 feet. And as I was doing my tarot reading, he just kind of bumped me. And I was like, and he just like points up to the barn. And I look up, and out of this little gap in the wall, there are some eyes looking at us. Like he'd left the lights on. So there's the reflection of eyes looking at us, but they're fucking huge. And I'm guessing it's about 5 feet tall or so is where the eyes are coming at us from where I'm judging the bottom of the window to be. I don't know how deep the top of it was. And we looked over there and we're just like, so fuck. Because this was not human. This was some sort of animal or something. And he's like, okay, we're good to go now. Because we need to leave. Okay. And he starts up the truck, starts pulling out. And as we're pulling away from this barn, there is just this thud. And it shakes the truck. And he just tells me, don't look back. Because he had looked up in the rear view the second it happened. And it was just like, don't look, no. And so I had my eyes closed. We drove down. And somehow, even though it had taken us many, many miles to get there, the first mile of road down and back out took us straight back to the highway. And there was something clawing and growling in the back of the truck until we got to about the highway. And then the truck jolted again as it left. And he was like, okay, it's okay now. And from the maze that we'd gone through, it, like I said, it took 2 turns to get back to where we should have been. And we drove back, just kind of freaking out, into Fremont. He took me back to the place where I worked, which is on the north side of town. I got in my car. We both lived in the same small town, and we'd known each other since like kindergarten. So we were pretty tight. And we drove back home, and that was to Hooper, my hometown, where we were both still living. And that was about 15 miles north. And got home, called each other, checking each other, is everything okay? But I must add that when we were transferring so I could get into my car, I did get to see the back of his truck, and the truck bed, there were gouges in it. It had been clawed up. There were like streaks and scratches and a little bit where it broke through. And so something huge had been in the back of that truck, and something had clawed up the back of that truck. And when we got home and went to check on each other, gave the phone call, because this was like pre-cell phone age, he asked me to look at the time. And it was 12:45. And I'd gotten off work at 12:30. And we'd put at least 50 miles on his truck, driving between 20 to 30 miles an hour and stopping for times. So that's my story about following will-o-wisps. And fortunately, nothing really bad came out of it. But yeah, that it's not necessarily, it wasn't a little light, but it was this little cloud. And we followed it for hours and no time passed whatsoever. And things like that happened a lot in that area. So that's my story.
Very odd.
That was fun.
I've heard this one before, but I always love hearing it again. It's a good one.
I
haven't actually heard you talk about this in quite a while.
Yeah,
That's weird.
It seriously fucked us up for a bit. We were like, what?
Hey, Minerva.
But then we started getting used to it, because it wasn't all the time, but there were multiple times that I spent with John, where things just didn't pass right. Time didn't work right. Space didn't work right. And I was looking it up on Google Maps. And like I said, we got around this place called La Chera like 4 or 5 times. And there's a cemetery in the first mile marker on that road. And we had to, there are 3 cemeteries in the area that we were driving around, but there is a cemetery on the first mile marker of that road that we had to have driven by like 5 or 6 times based on the amount of driving that we did, that I never saw. I just realized that when I was looking it up tonight to give you guys estimates on. So it isn't just like, yeah, you drove around for a while. It's like, no, we drove this many miles and, about this pace. And yeah. So
I love the weird random gas station that popped up.
I will tell the gas station story sometime too. That was fun. That one was one of my friends that was dropping me off. And yeah, it's another one of those things where there are the thin places where things only exist for certain people in certain conditions.
We should do a thin places episode, because I've got a lot of thin places stories.
Yeah. You guys ever encountered a thin place, as we're calling them, or something that shouldn't be there that wasn't later?
Saudi Daisy itself is kind of a thin place.
Yeah. That tree, man, that tree.
There's a big chunk of Riverside, the actual real Riverside, that's just one giant thin place where things come and go and change just randomly, and no one has any recollection of how or when or why they changed, just that they did, and that's what it is now.
Yay! Things that fuck with us.
Yeah.
And inspire us.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because it's like, that happened, so I don't want to write about it, because nobody's gonna believe me. But it was like, that was real.
But you have to write about it. That's what we do. Like, literally, that's what we do as writers. We write about things like this. We pretend they're fiction to make ourselves feel better.
I had this dream last night. I'm not fucked up. I'm a writer.
I'm not crazy. No, I am crazy. Fuck.
That last story that I read was from a nightmare I had. So yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, man. Get a lot from real life experiences that I've altered for fiction's sake, kind of, as far as you know, and nightmares and other weird things.
Raz's stories. I love your stories. You've had such an exciting life. Like, I had that one. I have a couple more, but most of my real life stories are like,
I don't know if I've told like a tiny fraction of shit that I can tell you guys. I forget. That's the thing. Like, unless someone is like, remember this time, and then I'm like, oh yeah, then I get a brain dump. Like, when you do so much shit, you can't remember it all until someone reminds you. I've lived a life well led. I could die today and feel like I accomplished more in this one lifetime than I think I could have in a million. Sometimes.
There's not a person in this chat room that I have not enjoyed any story you have written or told me.
Agreed.
Aw.
Agreed. I love all you guys and everybody. We
Aw.
always get the best people, man. Like we do. We get the most amazing storytellers.
We recruit people. Wow. Like, hi, come here. We'll take care of you. We'll cuddle you. We'll advertise your stuff.
You guys
we
are
want
fun.
you to tell more stories.
We try to be.
We want to
We
spend
try to
time
be
with
fun and
you.
drama free.
We love
That's
you.
our all inclusive, fun and drama free are kind of our three tenets to this whole thing.
So, okay. That's about it for tonight, guys. Thank you to everybody who's watching, for everybody who's watching again. If you want to, like and subscribe. If you would like to get points for it, go over to our Facebook page, look in the comments above or below, and you'll see links. And we have a pinned post there on most of our pages that will allow you to go ahead and like them and get entered into the lottery. Tomorrow night, we will be doing Tomb of the Terrible. And we are watching Killer Tongue.
Yeah.
I don't know where you can find it at, but
online in various places. You have to look though. It's not an easy one to find.
Yeah, dig around. And
But if you like Return of the Living Dead 3, Julia specifically, the same actress is the lead actress in this movie, so it's just worth watching for her in general. She's actually amazing. Yeah, she's amazing.
all right. And catch me Tuesday. We are going to have Keith Champagne again over on Splash Pages. He has a Kickstarter going on right now to get his Daybreak issues 1 through 4 done. And it's already fulfilled. So if you want to go and just grab something, it's all into the extra. What do you call the boosts on Kickstarters? Stretch goals.
Stretch
Yeah,
goals.
that's the word.
Yeah, he's into the stretch goals right now. It's totally going to get done. For it, if you want to be super familiar with what we're going over, we read the Mighty comic. And yeah, and next Sunday, I'm going to be opening up that box from Mile High Comics. We're going to be having a lot of fun here. There's going to be some unprinted pages. Jenny, what do we got going on there?
Unprinted pages, we have Heather Hancock. She is a nurse, she is an author, and she tells amazing stories coming from that. That book is amazing, and I can't wait to get to learn more about her.
All right.
So,
And let's go through the wrap. Rob,
So-
where do you like people to find you? Oh, I'm cutting Jenny off. But
Usually you can just find me on Facebook is the easiest place to find me. I do have a website, robsmales.com, but I'm on Facebook more often. I'm kind of hoping we were talking about having inspiration from life, and I have potentially sold another novella that is actually based on my job, which
nice.
some of my coworkers are kind of excited to read it because they're just like, this place is fucked up. So
I would love to read that.
hopefully it'll be coming out later this year. I need to actually keep talking with the publisher, or the potential publisher.
Okay.
But so hopefully I'll have news about something called Monkey Bones. So
Nice.
That sounds nice. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
You're very fun.
this one's less fun.
Okay.
Is it scary as fuck?
It's scary as fuck. I never think my stuff is scary as fuck, really. Other people do. I just have fun while I'm writing it, and that's what I remember. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Where do we find the mic?
I do have a Facebook page. You can just look up Michael Guzman, author. That's where I post all the stuff for my writing, and like links to my other friends' works are also on there. So That's where I do most of my social stuff for that kind of thing.
I apologize for always mispronouncing your name. My other friend does Guzman. You're Guzman. You're awesome,
Yeah,
though.
thank you. Yeah.
Hey, if you want to catch me and Hinata, who hangs out and is very lovey and very bitchy these days. She has her own fountain now. She has wet food 3 times a day, and she's still skinny as hell. I want her metabolism.
Spoiled.
I've been working out.
Spoiled rotten.
Oh yeah. Well, she's getting old, so she gets everything she wants. We even do my friend calls them kitty go-gurts, the little like paste things that are a treat that you like give your cat. They're like an ounce. But yeah, the crow inhabiting this body belongs to Carrie, Kari Lee Sanders. And you can find me just at Carrie Sanders on Facebook. And all of my socials there, my author page, everything that I do. And half of it is covered by Friday. So look for me there. You can see everything that I do.
I am Dr. Slasher.
Sound like a super villain name.
It should. You can find me wherever the fuck I show up, and I don't never know where that's gonna be or when that's gonna be. But I do know that I am obligated to join the Outlight Network multiple days every week, which I deeply enjoy. I love spending my time with you guys. Other than that, we're down for the season right now at Hell's Dungeon in Dayton, Ohio. So you won't see me there for a while unless you work there. Then you'll see me, eventually somewhere in the background doing something. But yeah, it's pretty much, I'm at that time of year now where I'm just doing shows and I'm hiding from the world and writing. That's all I'm doing. And so, yeah, just type in my name. I have a whole website, raztslasher.com. I have a Jenny that pretends to be me often because it's fun for both of us. And you'll never know who you're talking to. And I'll leave it at that. Also at your mom's house,
I'm looking forward to contacting Dr. Slasher for a second opinion on anything. Doesn't matter what.
Yeah, it does not matter what. I will offer my opinions on anything.
We can do Dear Dr. Slasher things too on Padded Cells in the future. We can just have like collect comments.
Yeah.
Dear Dr. Slasher, I got this growth. Its
name is Phil. Don't know why. That's the first name that popped in my brain.
I'm so sorry, Jay.
So you can find me in random places like on Dell's social media, Raz T Slasher social media, Owlite social media, Fake Horror social media, and oddly enough, mine.
If it's social and it's media, you'll find Jenny.
You can actually use her own name to talk to her. It's great.
Or you can go find me at Friday's Library in the Blue Box, the group Friday Blues Disorganized Library. Or if you actually want to see my author page, it's under my real name that I was given at birth by my mother, Jennifer Elliott.
But she's on Gal Friday.
I will be Friday forever. And if anybody actually has read the book Friday and understands why, please let me know.
So where did the nickname Friday come from?
Friday by
Robert A. Heinlein.
Yeah.
I have read that.
There. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna send you this afterwards. There's a comic out called Friday.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's a horror comic. So
nice.
It clicks everything, huh?
Take those boxes.
All right. Well, now you can find us. Please do hang out. We love talking to people. If you want to be on a show sometime, hit us up. If you're an author, if you're a creator of any sort, let us know. We want to share stories and storytellers with everybody. So
please read more.
Oh, read as much as you can. Or listen if you're a listener. More. But yeah, get stories. Stories are important. Be an audience. Be a creator. Yes. Okay. We love you. Good night, everybody.
See you guys later.
Are you ending or am I?
Good night.